Hello everyone, this is part 6 of What If Naruto Got Lost in Time, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Jiraiya had gone ahead of him, and Sakura had asked him to stay back. She had silently grabbed his hand as he turned to walk through the gates, and, just as silently, he met Jiraiya's eyes. He wasn't sure what message was conveyed in the man's burning gaze, but it almost seemed more than he understood. Nonetheless, the Sannin nodded, turning away and heading off alone. The sun was just starting its ascension into heaven. The day was new and soft, like a bursting peach of color. The sun a dim, benign presence at the edge of the horizon. Sakura would remember the way Naruto's hair was bright and tousled, bleeding gold at the edges in the early light that painted the ground in long strokes. The way he was almost unidentifiable in this bleeding saffron painting she'd never seen before, with this indomitable protagonist standing like a tragic prelude in the foreground, windy hair and cloudy eyes. Little did she know that Naruto was appraising the same of her. Half of her was painted in that same burning light, the other marred by long, narrow shadows tagging at her clothing and the edge of her nose. The determined seaweed green of her eyes, calloused hands and arms lined with medical seals painted to her elbows. They'd both become heroes in two separate stories. "Don't look at me like that," he began jokingly, unsure of what else to say. For a moment, he remembered with absurd clarity that it was Sakura who was the last to see Sasuke in Konoha. That it was Sakura who had pleaded him to stay. That it was Sakura now, watching him like they were coming up to some sort of crossroad he hadn't been aware was there. Like what? She tilted her head, smile creasing her cheeks. Like you're about to do something stupid. He pulled a face. Her smile widened. You are. She nudged him playfully. I don't do stupid things like that anymore. He denied. And then added, unhelpfully, but if the monument ends up neon-colored, don't be too surprised. She rolled her eyes. I'll blame Konohamaru. For that, yes. Naruto nodded. And when it glows in the dark, then you can blame me. You didn't actually do that. She gave him an incredulous look. Before, did you? Of course not. Naruto scoffed, though really, it was up to debate. I'm not 12 anymore, Sakura-chan. Sure, don't act like it. She teased, smirking. Her smile fell, then. Naruto wished he could have kept it there, if not for a bit longer. It had been a long time since he'd seen her smile so wide, like all their concerns mattered so little. Naruto, he braced himself for it, visibly, even. The, I'm worried for you, and all the, I miss you, that would inevitably follow, quickly affirmed with the crestfallen, heartbreaking look that only Sakura could achieve so unnervingly beautifully. Instead, it was even worse. I believe in you. If only she hadn't smiled at all, that way, the overwhelming tide of grief wouldn't have knocked him over and sent him spiraling down into his own wrenching self-hate. Because, beneath all those smiles and all those jokes, he'd managed to come to an awareness that had only lingered in the undercurrent of his subconscious. A realization he'd been heading towards, but had attempted to delay. That, he was the first to leave, turning his face into the glowing sun, into the world doused in gold. She turned away as well, into Konoha, creased in shadows. He didn't even want to be here. The hill was so steep that Jiraiya could have posed as a bumbling old hermit, squatting at the top to catch a glimpse of a glorious sunrise. The old man had already courteously drawn it out himself, and Naruto immediately recognized the design they'd come up with together. The blonde felt a bit of pride knowing that he'd made most of it. Jiraiya had only egged him on a bit, advising but generally leaving creation up to Naruto. And while it had its flaws, the surge of chakra being one of the more irritable nuances, Naruto was still proud of what he'd come up with. How far he'd come. Jiraiya was waiting patiently by the seal, legs crossed and arms folded, face turned into the sun. Yo. The blonde greeted. The toad Sannin nodded, eyes still closed into the warm light. You say goodbye. Yeah. Naruto answered, stiffly. He stepped into the seal, onto the fond patterns he'd painstakingly created. You don't sound too happy. I'm not good with goodbyes. The blonde shrugged. No guilt. He scowled. How did Jiraiya always know? What for? The Junin retorted, angrily beginning the hand seals. What did Jiraiya know, anyway? He wasn't the one standing on this paper, unknowingly poised between two roads he couldn't follow. Wasn't stuck with this forlorn longing that Naruto knew was wrong, yet was too strong for him to stop. And he knew if Jiraiya made him stop this now, told him this experiment was over and crushed this seal, that he'd do everything in his power to get back there. You're a lucky guy, Naruto. Jiraiya appraised wanly. The seal erupted in a burst of brilliant blue, before it left nothing but a sky full of monstrous, rolling clouds and an old man on a hill. The Sannin looked down at the paper crumbling in on itself, on the design made from blackened ink. On the design Naruto had made almost entirely by his own doing, such a work of genius for a boy so young. I hope you change the world. ... X. ... It was only on the rarest of occasions that Kushina and Minato were able to meet publicly, however obscured it may seem. Even a deserted tea shop like this had Minato jumpy and on edge, glancing at the doors as if he expected the entirety of a Wagakure to come bearing down on the shoji screen. Stop looking so mad. She leaned back, adjusting herself on her pillow. It makes your face look sour. I don't look sour, Minato retorted, a steady pout forming on his face. It only took one grin from Kushina until he was grinning back. You do, she crooned. Like you've swallowed a soured plum. Kinda like a fish, see. To demonstrate, she pursed her lips and squished her cheeks with her hands. Minato quickly put an end to it, kissing her solidly on the mouth until she giggled into it, laughing and pulling away. Everything about Kushina was beautiful. The fiery red hair and the green blue to her eyes. But most of all that soft smile reserved entirely for him. He fingered the ring in his pocket. He'd been thinking about it all yesterday. How was he supposed to find the perfect time? Plan a date at a fancy restaurant. But it was too crowded. Everyone would see, and Kushina hated places like that, anyway. In their house. But how plain. With his team, perhaps, but he wasn't even sure if he wanted them to know. He'd been fretting about it all morning as well, happy for the distraction as she dragged him to her favorite tea shop, desolate so early in the morning. But why not now? She loved this place and the goddamn chai tea more than anything else in the world, perhaps even him, just as she loved mornings as the sun began to rise. And how could he not, when she looked so lovely, dazzling him with her beguiling smile, sun catching at her hair and sloping down her shoulder like an arch of gold. He cleared his tea. So, Kushina, and the both of them jolted up, as a surge of chakra seemed to plow right through him like a burst of intent. Minato immediately sprung to his feet, head snapped to the direction of the overwhelming amount of chakra. Like a bomb had just been dropped, spinning through the air and alerting everyone to its presence. What was that? Kushina stood as well, peering out the window. Minato attempted to pull her back, away from the only opening, but she only waved him off. The birds are scared, she noted. But I don't see any smoke. Minato looked out as well. The sky was dotted with dark silhouettes, birds taking to the sky in long circular patterns. But there was no smoke, only the subtle blue of the sky and the line of trees. Kushina turned to him, eyes wide and excited. Let's investigate. What? He snorted, incredulously. That's the dick, hey, hold on. But Kushina was already half out the door, taking flight with the birds, wind singing in her hair. He stumbled after her, steadied his footing before leaping into the trees after her. They crossed through the sky, and he eyed the horizon. There was a curious lack of other nin, they had been pretty far from the village, but not terribly. The shockwave seemed to have literally sped through him, but maybe it had been small enough not to alert the presence of the entire village. Naruto had just dropped out of his own seal, falling to the ground unpleasantly and groaning at the headache he was now sporting. Typical of this stupid seal and its stupid imprecision, was it possible he'd used too much chakra this time? He wasn't sure. Quickly, the blonde pocketed the anchor seal on the ground, rolling it into a scroll and shoving it onto one of the containers in his belt. Just in time, too, as two nin came bolting out of the thick canopy of trees. He wasn't nearly as surprised with Minato as he was with the blonde's red-headed companion. He'd expected some nin to come around, even though the departure was certainly more strenuous than the arrival, the amount of chakra used to do so would at least alert someone. But Naruto's eyes caught with the woman descending from the trees, and his mind short-circuited. The amount of familiarity in Kushina's face was startling. Not nearly as much as Minato, but equally there, subtler around the eyes and in the curve of her chin, the bow of her mouth. The wind picked at her long, fiery hair, just as her eyes trained onto Naruto. There was a brief moment in which she said nothing at all, too shocked at how much the boy resembled Minato to do much else aside from stare in silent appraisal. His skin was tanner, yes, lending him a more golden shade, and though his face only vaguely resembled the other man's, just the nose and the brows, perhaps, but everything else seemed just as familiar, though she couldn't place from where, it was the eyes that really caught at her. Those were Minato's eyes. On someone else. Naruto. Minato called out, looking surprised and relieved at the same time. Kushina blinked in confusion, as Minato hedged closer to the younger boy. Minato never voluntarily let someone invade his personal space, aside from her and perhaps Jiraiya. He was looking the boy over avidly, checking for wounds. Are you all right? The lemon-haired boy grinned sheepishly. I'm fine. He insisted. I just put too much into that last attack. Put too much. Kushina thought, bewildered. That was a lot of chakra, more than the average ninja would have. Put too much. Minato voiced her thoughts aloud. You could have blown up something with that, could have blown up yourself. You think? Naruto pondered curiously, looking entertained at the thought. Inwardly, he was mentally going through possible places far enough not to alert nearby Nin of the seal's use. But how far? The middle of Kumo far. The boy's eyes slid to his mother's, not unsurprised to find her looking at him as well. Oh, Minato looked between the two. I haven't introduced you two yet. The boy peered curiously at her, but with a certain impassivity she didn't think she was supposed to catch. She tried to shake off the strange, unexplainable feeling of familiarity at his face, at the way his face split open with a grin. I'm Kushina. She spoke first, voice strong, just like he'd imagined it to be. Hi. He shook himself out of his daze. I'm Naruto. His mother's voice, it was almost calling back to him. Like he was remembering it from a half-remembered dream, long washed in a sea of memories. Minato eased the unsure tension out of the trio easily enough. Cool. Hey, let's go meet my team already, huh? Obito's been looking for you, Naruto. The other blonde perked up, happily confused. Me? Yeah, he's been asked to pick your brain for jutsu. Minato nodded. Thinks you're some sort of Azushiogakur warrior god or something. Azushiogakur. Kushina interrupted, immediately. You're from Azushiogakur. No. Naruto was quick to protest. No. It's just, well my mom's from there, well she's kind of from there. But my dad isn't, from any ninja clan, I don't think, so I usually just say I'm from Azushiogakur. Huh. Kushina appraised. You wouldn't happen to have known her clan name, would you? Uzumaki. Naruto's mind supplied bitterly. Why yes, I would. No. He answered, aloud. I didn't really know much about her. The woman's stern eyes softened. Oh, I see. Then she extended her hand. At first, Naruto thought she was trying to shake his hand, but then he caught sight of the tattoo on the back of her hand. The spiral. The sign of Azushiogakur. I'm from Azushi. It's been a long time since I've met anyone else from there. I've never been. He answered, honestly. By the time I was born, I dunno, it just never came up in any of my travels. Travels? Kushina echoed, suddenly perking up. Do you travel? I do. He answered, honestly. Much farther than you'll ever know. Naruto wasn't sure how to handle the curious expression on her face. And you? Oi, you guys. Naruto could have sighed in relief, as Kushina's eyes tore away from his own to make out Obito and Rin amidst a sea of shifting people. They'd somehow walked out into one of the main roads, full of Konoha at its highest peak of shopping. Rin and Obito trekked their way over, Rin coming to a full halt in front of Minato, the older blonde looking confused at her sly face until she opened her mouth. Good morning, Hokage-sama. Minato was quick to slap a hand over his wiggling Gennin's mouth. Not so loud, he hissed, looking around. No one seemed to have heard her. 20 years in the future and had Minato walked down the street, there wouldn't be a single person who wouldn't have stopped to stare. Perhaps it was just a posthumous reputation, however, for no one seemed particularly interested in the Junin with a blonde mop of hair. Calm down. Kushina rolled her eyes. You're not that famous. And with special relish to Minato's relieved expression, she added, yet. I can't wait for the coronation. Rin squealed, before ribbing Obito. We get front row seats, right, right. Of course. Minato rubbed at his head, grinning. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Sarutobi-sama still has a few months in him left. Doubt it. Obito snorted. Last I heard he was already planning a vacation to Kirigakure. Minato's eyes widened. No. Who did you hear that from? Those tunin at the guard post. Let's eat. Kushina clapped her hands, cutting in swiftly. That's enough about Hokage stuff for today, huh? The comely woman easily maneuvered Minato plus Rin and Obito down the street, subtly switching the conversation over to lighter waters. Naruto frowned, plodding along next to Rin. How strange, Kushina had almost looked uncomfortable at the thought of Minato becoming Hokage. Did she not want the pressure that would come upon them? Or just didn't want Minato to be Hokage? He found himself observing a deeper level to his parents' relationship than he had first thought. The way Jiraiya spoke of them, they were a happy, light-hearted couple with few problems. Though his mother was known for her spitfire temper, he'd never actually heard any evidence of it. Generally, people spoke of her warmly, or respectfully, those who knew her, anyway. And the few who were aware of Minato and Kushina's relationship, and the fact that they had him, were quick to refer to them almost like a fairy tale couple. Though he saw very little of this now. Kushina led him towards her favorite tempura restaurant, a few blocks away. Naruto couldn't help but notice how every time Minato seemed to get closer to her, she'd delicately move away. He frowned. Wait. Kushina pouted. The hostess only gave them a slightly empathetic glance. I'm sorry. She shrugged. But it is lunchtime. A party of 5. It'll be around 20 minutes. I'll be sure to call you over when your table is ready. Kushina huffed, turning away from the stands and the busy tempura house, looking almost overcrowded with the amount of people. Rin had somehow roped both Obito and Minato into crossing the street with her, to where an enormous bookstore sprawled over the majority of the corner, leaving Kushina and Naruto to wait for their table alone. He eyed the woman from the side, unsure of what to say. Everything he knew of his mother seemed to have been judiciously turned right side up, and now he was struggling to sift through all the debris, trying to pick at the only truths he had left. Do you like him? Sadly, he hadn't inherited Minato's tactful conversational cues. And some say he favored his mother in that regard. Excuse me. The woman turned around in a flurry of burning red hair, looking mildly offended. Minato, I mean. He nudged his head to where the other blonde appeared. It's just, you seem to be avoiding him. What are you? Tactical intelligence. Kushina snorted. It's in a shinobi's best interest to understand behaviors. Naruto answered, neutrally. Kushina seemed to appraise him, as if judging his character through her gray, sky-like eyes. For a while, Naruto let her, keeping his face decidedly impassive, letting her peruse what she liked. Of course I like him. She answered with a sigh that seemed to deflate her entirely. That's not the problem. Then what? Naruto tilted his head. His reputation. That he'll be the Yondaime soon. That he's infamous and will someday be. All of the above. Kushina cut in, exasperated. She threw her hands up. Naruto was caught in her vibrance. But it's more than that. She looked away. It's me, really, I dunno. I'm me. And Minato is Minato. There's a lot of difference right there. That doesn't have to mean anything if you don't want it to. Naruto pointed out quietly. It doesn't matter what I think. Kushina sniffed, crossing her arms. She looked a lot like him at that moment, arms folded against her chest and face tilted away. So stubborn and mulish, the opposite of Minato, easygoing and eager to please. He just doesn't see it like I do. I don't think he cares, which is good, in a way. He doesn't worry about what other people think, what they will think when he becomes Hokage. I mean, he's going to be the Yondaime. She croaked out. And I'm a Jin. Naruto was surprised she would even confide in him with something of that magnitude, and she looked surprised herself. Luckily, perhaps for both of them, they were interrupted by a sweet, feminine voice. Kushina-chan. Kushina's face immediately lit up, focusing on someone behind Naruto. The blonde turned around, only to see Sasuke running towards him. Oh wait. Sasuke wasn't a Pete woman. Mikoto Uchiha came to a halt in front of her best friend, giving her an ecstatic hug that pulled the taller woman straight off her feet. Kushina squawked, wriggling in her best friend's arms until the smaller kunoichi put her down. Naruto was trying not to faint. He may have met Mikoto, or Fugaku, and somewhere in the recesses of his mind were two Uchiha with vague, swimming pale faces and dark eyes. Mikoto came into view with disturbing clarity, her cute, small nose and big black eyes. Sasuke's cute, small nose and big black eyes. E.W. Sasuke looked so much like his mother that Naruto just decided that, to keep the two very, very far apart in his mind, he just wouldn't look at her. What are you doing here? Mikoto asked, with a bright, happy smile. God, I haven't seen you in months. Where the hell have you been? Around. Kushina answered with a sly smile. And I'm waiting in this goddamn line for my tempura. This is crazy, you know. I remember when this place was empty all the time. And we'd come to study for our academy exams. Mikoto finished with a giggle. It's really been that long, huh? It's ridiculous. Kushina agreed, before remembering Naruto. Naruto, she barked. This is Mikoto. Praise the ground she walks on. Naruto gave an embellished bow, making Mikoto stifle laughter. How do you do, Mikoto-sama? Don't listen to her. Mikoto waved him off with a playful smile. I'm no lady. Not yet, anyway. Kushina crowed. Where is that fool Fugaku, anyway? On a mission. Mikoto chirruped. He's going to be gone until tonight, so I was thinking of picking up some tempura. You should join us. Kushina interrupted with glee. I'm having lunch here with Minato-san. Minato-san. And his team. The Hokage, huh? Mikoto's voice turned sly, and Naruto was suddenly struck by the fact that no, this woman who seemed to clearly know Kushina well hadn't any idea that the two of them were dating. Oh, Kushina-chan. It's not like that. Kushina was quick to hurry out. I'm just good friends with little Rin-chan, you know. Naruto could only scowl. What a load of bull. Man, no wonder no one ever connected him with the fourth, despite the fact that they may as well have been identical twins. Clearly, no one knew the fourth even had the ability, or the chance to procreate. The meek hostess came out after that, ushering him in with a graceful little bow, which Kushina easily plowed right over. She then began to imperiously demand another seat for Mikoto, who only half-heartedly attempted to reassure the staff that no, Kushina wasn't going to sue them and bring the entire restaurant down, she just wanted another seat. It was a little hard to tell the difference, though. By the time they'd fully settled, Kushina sandwiched between Naruto and Mikoto, Minato and his team had come back, Rin with more books than it looked like she could carry. Rin was first to delve straight into a conversation about literature, and no one but Naruto seemed to catch Minato's dismayed look at seeing Kushina without an empty chair. Naruto moved around uncomfortable, unsure of whether he should give Minato his seat or stay where he was. But Kushina's hand clamped around his knee like a steel GS, and he stayed where he was. Lunch, from another perspective other than his own, was a light-hearted affair full of chirrupy anecdotes and a few humorous jokes, like old friends catching up after a long time. But all Naruto could do was toy with his chopsticks, wondering about how little he knew, how much was really left to gather dust in history. Naruto wasn't entirely sure how he managed to walk Mikoto home, but the two were going in the same direction, and Naruto supposed he may as well be courteous enough to walk with her, even though he was still having issues at looking straight at her face. You really don't have to, insisted Mikoto kindly, as everyone parted their separate ways. Minato and his team to visit Kakashi in the hospital and Kushina too, well, Naruto wasn't entirely sure. She'd left in a bit of a hurry. Nah, I'm going this way, anyway. And then, with a grin. I'm sure that, Fugaku-san, wouldn't want you walking home alone, anyway. That, Fugaku-san, conveniently forgets I'm a kunoichi, and can take care of myself. Mikoto snorted, before brightening. But it is very nice of you. Thank you, Naruto-san. It really isn't a problem, Mikoto-san. Mikoto blinked at the formality, even though she'd used it herself. It's just Mikoto. She smiled. Then it's just Naruto. He smiled back. Oh god. He wasn't flirting with Sasuke's mom, was he? Of course not. He mentally slapped himself in the face. That's disturbing. To think this light-hearted woman birthed the two most notoriously stoic Uchiha in history, one of which who even destroyed his own clan. So, how do you know Kushina-chan? I don't. I'm friends with Minato, though, and we just happened to meet up, and you know how Rin-chan is with. I wonder who came up with that. Mikoto snorted, interrupting him. Those two are so transparent. They might be fooling everyone else, but they're definitely not fooling me. You know, Naruto cut off, incredulously. About, Minato and Kushina. Of course I know, Mikoto huffed. I knew since that day Minato rescued her from those Kumo nin. I was under the impression it wasn't common news around here. Oh, it's most certainly not. Think of what would happen if people found out, if it were found out. Kushina's already in a delicate position, being from Azushi and all, and that makes it even more difficult to be with Minato. Let alone the fact that she's Mikoto trailed off, meeting Naruto's eyes before looking away. A Jinchuriki, Naruto offered. So you knew that too? Mikoto whispered, looking a tad surprised. He shrugged. I've met a few. I'm pretty good with chakra identification, so it's easy to tell them apart. The Uchiha took this in stride, nodding. They'll have a lot of problems, I'm sure, but I really just want them to be happy. They will be, Naruto answered with brimming honesty. Even now, I think they're happy. Confused, and a little unsure, but definitely happy. You think so? Mikoto gave him a curious tilt of her head. I know so, he affirmed. He found himself at the end of a deep, grey gaze, one he'd seen before. Such conviction, she murmured. Are you looking out for them? They came to a pause at the gates to the Uchiha compound, Naruto not even realizing they'd walked so far. Naruto blinked, unsure. I guess so. He ended, lamely. I want to see them happy, too. He must have passed some sort of test in her eyes, because the Uchiha gave a nod of affirmation before rummaging in her hair. She came up with a glimmering silver strand, a end lace at the end of it. Here, I want you to have this. It was a double swirl patterned end lace, but colored black and red. Naruto wondered what was up with him and getting jewelry from girls. It's a sign of good luck. Mikoto gave him a happy little smile. Generally, they're shaped like Uchiha fans, it's a clan thing, but I feel like this suits you more. I can't take this from you. Naruto declined quickly. I mean, if it's yours. It's okay. She waved him off, pulling out another one from underneath her shirt. I have another one. Kushina-chan has one too, we can be matching, ne? Sure. Naruto said, for lack of response. I'm sure you'll do a good job, looking after them. For a moment, Naruto thought of Sakura, and her unshakable conviction in him. He wondered what about him inspired people to believe in him, even when he didn't believe in himself. We can take turns. Mikoto's eyes shifted up over his head, catching something in the sky. Naruto looked up too, to find a hawk circling slowly above them. That must be for you. Mikoto noted. Well, I'll be going then. Good luck, Naruto-kun. She gave him a final wave, before heading into the Uchiha compound. Naruto wondered how she could be so sure it was his, she was a ninja too, after all. Though Kunoichi only took off from work when Naruto blanched. So it seemed he'd inadvertently met Itachi, too. X. That will be all for this video, be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos, goodbye.